Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. And coming up today, we're going to show Dominik Mysterio's battered, beaten torso after Seth Rollins ate him alive with a kendo stick and Murphy. And then we're going to talk about the updated SummerSlam card after last night's Raw.
Plus, Randy Orton punts Ric Flair in the head, and a former NXT wrestler popped up in AEW last night. This is the news.
Let's kick things off by talking about dirty Dominik Mysterio.
So you want to be a wrestler, son?
Welcome to the business, pal. Dominik got the crap kicked out of him last night, so there was a contract signing. Opened up Raw. It was for Dominik versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam 2020. Dominik also signed his WWE contract ceremonial in that segment as well. They cut promos back and forth. Good solid stuff. It was revealed as well that Dominik will be allowed to use weapons in the match against Rollins because Rollins says he doesn't want the Mysterio family to have any excuses. We then saw Seth Rollins beat Humberto Carrillo in like 3 minutes. It was flattening. And he was looking Dominik in the eyes as he pinned him because eyeball stuff is what this feud is. And then him and Murphy just beat the crap out of Dominik. Kendo sticks here, there, and everywhere. They tied him up in the rope. They took his shirt off. They just went all in on the dude. They left nothing in the tank whatsoever. They wellied him. And Dominik has had these photos posted to WWE's Instagram account now as well. Check these out, man. It's like ground beef. It's like he's been in a chop fight with Walter. He looks like a pre-cooked lasagna. That doesn't make any sense. But, look at them. They're gross. It's kind of damage reminiscent of the lashing segment, perhaps, from AEW. Maybe lack the emotional heft of that. I definitely lack the emotional heft of that. But still a very effective segment, and the damage done to Dominik speaks for itself.
Yeah, I really like this segment as much as you could really like Rey Mysterio's son getting battered, I suppose. It's something I've been calling out for since Rey Mysterio was going to fight Samoa Joe at WrestleMania. So I suppose I got my wish, although I'm not sure I wanted it anymore. Look, this is going to build really nicely into their SummerSlam match. And I know people assume that Adam Cleary is off on holiday this week. That is the case. It's a bloody good job. He'd be having flashbacks to our Royal Rumble punishment when he got chopped in the chest about 27 times or whatever it was. Horrible to see what his back, not even his back or his chest, his entire torso looked like. The greater good, apparently. Bloody hell. Anyway, that wasn't the only horrible beating we saw last night on Monday Night Raw. We also saw Randy Orton punt Ric Flair in the head. Well, sort of. Basically, Randy Orton won his match. Really enjoyable little main event match against Kevin Owens, of course, hitting him with an RKO out of nowhere. Post-match, he celebrated with Ric Flair, then grabbed a microphone and basically cut a promo on Flair, saying that whilst he used to love and respect Ric, he didn't anymore. He told him a liability, he told him to cry, he referenced Ric Flair's family, he referenced Ric Flair's health conditions, the fact he'd been in a coma, he called him a junkie for the spotlight. Ric Flair, to be fair, responded, explained why he did what he did and the way he's been acting and why, he does enjoy still being 70-odd years old and still being on Monday Night Raw alongside Randy Orton, who he wanted to break his record, not John Cena's. In the end, Randy Orton hugs Ric Flair. Everything looks like it's done with, but you look at the clock and realise there's 5 minutes left of Monday Night Raw. That can't possibly be it. No, low blow to Ric Flair. Randy Orton does his usual pace backwards and then punts Ric Flair in the head, except, of course, you don't see the punt because that would be a really bad idea with a 71-year-old Ric Flair, I think he is. The whole, retribution! The lights dropped just as he was running up to do the punt, and when they came back up, Ric Flair's head had come off pretty much, basically.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre ran down to not really make the save, a little bit late for that, but to stare down Randy and basically say, I'll see you at SummerSlam in less than 2 weeks. What did you make of this segment, Andy Murray?
Yeah, Drew only had like a minute to come down and save Rick. He could have come down a bit quicker, but no, this was really effective. I'm just picking hairs to be a bell end. It was fun. Like, Raw opened and closed with like some very effective set pieces, I think, and it was a big step forward from the previous week. I thought it worked really well. You can't have Ric Flair getting kicked in the head at 71 years old after all he's gone through, so Retribution screwing with the lights, or whoever screwed with the lights, was an effective way to cover that up. I think the build to this match has been really good. I'm glad that they're now leaning away from the Drew I used to suck stuff that he's
Yes.
that he's been doing. And you know, it's two big matches that I'm earnestly really looking forward to. They'll be weird. Dominik is going to wrestle a match. That's weird. It's not as weird as Pat McAfee wrestling a match, but it's pretty weird. And weirdness is what gets us by at the moment, I think. So bring it on.
Kind of love the build to SummerSlam and Takeover right now, and those weird matches. I'm looking forward to it. And you and I have just realised, as we keep doing, that it's less than 2 weeks away now. My goodness me.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, life comes at you fast, even when you don't leave your house. Speaking of SummerSlam, we got one new proper match added to the card last night. That, of course, is Sasha Banks defending the Raw Women's title against Asuka. This came about a very good match on Raw, as stipulated last week. If Asuka could get past Bayley against Bayley's wishes, she would get a shot at the belt that she lost to Sasha Banks. That was accomplished via Asuka lock, and it was a very good match, as you'd expect from these two on Raw. Very high standards all year long, all past couple of years long. I mean, Bayley and all these people have been great for years, is what I'm trying to say. But the match is set, Sasha versus Asuka. The one big hope you have for this match is that they don't go for the screwy finish. We've had a lot of those lately. Please just hold off on those now. Kind of sick of them. A lot of people are. And there's a change to the Dominik versus Seth Rollins match as well. Covered that earlier. Dominik's allowed to use weapons. It's official now as well because of the contract signing. Rounding off the card then, we got Drew versus Orton. WWE title. We got Braun Strowman, Universal title, defending against The Fiend. We got Bayley against somebody to be determined on the, what are they calling it? The Tri-Brand Battle Royal?
Yeah, I think
something
something like that.
On SmackDown. Everyone's going to be in that. Apollo Crews versus MVP, US title. And the Raw Tag Team titles, Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. So, SummerSlam's looking good. Let's see what SmackDown brings.
Yeah, I thought it was a spectacular match between Bayley and Asuka last night. Look, I think the thing is, we've been moaning about what they've been doing with it only because we've never had a satisfactory conclusion. When it be Bayley, Asuka, Sasha Banks, Kairi Sane, all that. I mean, there was the match last week where it got called off because Shayna Baszler is in the midst of a match with Sasha Banks and Asuka attacked Bayley, who wasn't involved in it whatsoever. Look, I have no doubt that they are going to give us a satisfactory conclusion to Asuka versus Sasha Banks at SummerSlam. But my God, if you haven't even seen it, go out and check the GIFs on Twitter of the fluid movements between both Asuka and Bayley. There's a bit with, I think Asuka goes for a drop kick or some sort of kick, and Bayley jumps and gets it into a knee bar. There's a wonderful bit where where Asuka ducks under and goes from a kick to a suplex. It's spectacular what those two did together. Unsurprisingly, I thought they worked really, really well, and glad that we finally got to the end of that road, and hopefully going to get a great match a week on Sunday. My goodness me.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk a little bit about AEW, because former WWE NXT star Rachel Ellering debuted there last night as part of that AEW Deadly Draw Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament thing, whatever it's called. She teamed with ex-WWE interviewer Dasha Gonzalez against Ivelisse and Diamante. Losing effort there, unfortunately. This is her first documented wrestling match since July last year, where she tore her ACL facing Lacey Evans on a house show. She was, of course, let go by WWE as part of their Black Wednesday releases in April. Ellering, she's, of course, the daughter of legendary Road Warriors manager Paul Ellering. And we also saw indie standout Nicole Savoy debut last night. She's now rechristened Lil Swole, unsurprisingly tagging with Big Swole. Look, it's great to see some of the stars cast aside by WWE as part of Black Wednesday, or the indie people that we've always talked about getting the opportunities in other promotions, getting this chance as a part of this Deadly Draw tournament. Look, there's been question marks over some of the things that AEW have done with this, but it's nice to see, as I said, some indie or overlooked women's wrestlers really getting an opportunity. Yeah,
I think when people talk about like the wrestlers the AEW could have used in their division instead of some of the people they've maybe utilised, Nicole Savoy is a really great example of that. Indie veteran, very highly esteemed, very well respected, would probably make a really good addition to the roster, whether she's wrestling as her old gimmick or as Lil Swole, apparently. And Rachel Ellering, good to see her landing on her feet. She was out of action for like a year with that ACL injury. Just horrible stuff, a nasty situation. And then to lose your job with what's been going on, must just really compound that. So good to see her back on her feet as well. She's got Penelope Ford on Dark tonight. Should be another interesting little tryout. They've been using Dark as kind of like a testing ground, and maybe we can do something with this person here. Tino Sabatelli was on it the other week, for goodness sake. So, hey, good for her. Looking forward to seeing more.
Exactly. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Mike on the mic, who says Nexus attacked John Cena and those around ringside to make a legit threat in WWE at the time. If Retribution is supposed to be the new Nexus, who do you think will be the unlucky victim to make Retribution a legit threat in WWE?
Now, they've got a long way to go after throwing a brick through a window last night.
And all the carnage that they did.
Brother. Let's tip that on its roof. Man, this is a good question. Something I haven't really thought about. I think Drew McIntyre would be a good shout because he's the champion. What better way to make an impact than to do that? They might use Big Show, He's been kicking around a lot lately. Or maybe they'll invade the underground and beat up Shane McMahon. I'm going to go with Big Show. He keeps popping up and they like using him these days. So, hey, why not?
Yeah, my mind immediately went to WWE champion Drew McIntyre, but then I thought I really don't want him bothering himself with this sort of thing. So yeah, you want kind of a legend, but one you don't really mind seeing getting taken off TV, probably. That'd probably be for the best. But the best match for me would be Retribution versus the Ninjas 5-on-5 at Survivor Series. No one knows what's going on there. Second question today comes from Marcus Haman, who says, what's up, guys? With the way Raw's ratings have been dropping and AEW's have been rising, if Dynamite was on Mondays, where do you think each show's ratings would end up? Would Raw's numbers fall under 1 million? I would choose AEW first.
I think that AEW has a long way to go before it can think about matching Raw, whether it's on Wednesday night or on Monday night. We've seen things like AEW beating Raw in the 18 to 34 demographic, which is absurd. Like, it shouldn't be doing that after a year, less than a year, sorry. It's a crazy, crazy success story in that regard, but Raw is, say what you will about the quality, but it's been on air for 400 years. It's got bigger names, bigger name value, more habitual viewers, more long-term hardcore fans. Maybe 5 or 6 years we can kind of talk about AEW reaching that level, perhaps. But for now, I think it's a little bit far-fetched, despite Raw's ongoing slide.
I agree completely. I think you'd get very confident AEW fans and then probably get kind of blown out of the water if you went one-on-one with Raw on Monday nights. That's why Gundertaker's so confident with his tweets. Andy, you were here, thankfully, at my birthday, socially distanced, I should say, my birthday on the weekend, and we had some friends of mine who were very casual wrestling fans, and you could hear the conversations they had when we were talking about, what we do as a job and then referencing AEW and the fact that a lot of them just didn't really have a clue. Casual wrestling fans still just know AEW as that place that I think Moxley's gone and JR is and Chris Jericho is. It's not as widely acknowledged.
Yeah.
You've got your AEW stands, but the casual wrestling fan who goes, oh, what? Stone Cold's back on Raw will not be tuning into AEW week in and week out, despite how good the product is.
Yeah, needs some work.
Final question today comes from Dante3000, who says, what's up, guys? With WWE making such a spectacle of Dom signing a contract to become a member of the roster, do you guys see this as the start of his career, or do you think this is just an angle for their match? They definitely broke him in with that kendo stick.
Yeah, I definitely see it as the start of a long-term career. It's something that Ray has spoken about for a while. Dominik's been training for something like a year. He's under a great learning tree in his dad, of course. He looks really good already in the limited action we've seen of him so far. I think he's going to have a run. I think he's going to have a proper, decades-long run like his father, injury permitting and so forth. So yeah, let's go. This could be the start of something special.
I completely agree. I don't think you need to immediately transition him onto a different feud after this Seth Rollins match, but I do see him sticking around and doing a lot of stuff in WWE in the months and years going forward. Don't feel the need to give him a 24/7 championship run just to sort of legitimise him. That beating he took last night was more than enough. Right, let's move on to today's and finally. And I think, Andy, it's fair to say that we've had some trouble recently with calling people out on social media, Lance Archer being the most obvious example. But there's one that I feel relatively confident calling out, and that is Logan Paul. Logan Paul offering out 10 grand to any influencer, he says, who can beat me in a wrestling match. Now, we're not going to go against Logan Paul. I saw what he did in his fight with KSI, although he obviously lost, and we are very much Team KSI, or at least I am here at WhatCulture. Simon Miller, though, our very own Simon Miller, sticking his hand in the air. You are going to see Simon Miller versus Logan Paul, and Logan is going to have to hand over 10,000 smackaroonies to our very own Simon Miller. I want to see it, Andy Murray.
Literally the only name out of those you've just mentioned that I know is Simon Miller, so go Simon. I don't know who these other people are. Are they the guys who had the YouTube boxing?
Exactly, yes. And Logan's brother of Jake Paul, I don't know. We're too old for this sort of thing. But
I know
anyway.
Sean Paul, eh?
No relation, I don't think. Anyway, kick his ass, Simon. Do it for all of us, because we definitely can't. Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dadley Boys reviewing Monday Night Raw a little bit later on today. And join us live at 4 p.m. here on YouTube. Myself, Adam Nicholas, and Phil Chambers to answer all of your WWE questions. You can let us know your thoughts on Twitter as well, at WhatCultureWE, and of course your Twitter questions. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hasselbank.
Jimmy Floyd. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWE. And if you got that reference, go and check out WhatCulture Football. It's really good. Right, man, thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.